Oh, and welcome to the Talking Apron podcast, where we make sense of food and health and everyday life one meal at a time. I'm Bernardin. I'm a nutrition educator, a diabetes prevention coach, and I've spent years helping women turn kitchen confusion into confidence. I also live with type 1 diabetes, so I know firsthand how the food we eat can affect how we feel, our energy level, our blood sugar, even our mood. And here we keep things real, we keep things simple, we keep things doable. Each week, I'll share practical nutrition tips, a little science you can actually use, and encouragement to help you eat well without the overwhelm of trying to figure out what do I need to be eating. So whether you're learning about how to manage prediabetes or you're hoping to prevent it, or you just want to cook with more purpose and peace of mind, this is a place to pause, to breathe, and to get inspired. So go ahead and go tie on that apron, pour yourself a glass of water, and let's get started. All right, this first segment is titled The Kitchen is Your Chemistry Lab. And I know there's a Netflix show going on right now, and there was a book some years back. But this is what we have been doing for the ages. How when fire first got started, our ancestors could cook meat, could cook vegetables, and it changed how the human race ate. So every time you turn on the stove, you're doing some chemistry. I know we're not back in the lab in science class in high school. We're right in our kitchen. Heat changes how food looks, feels, and tastes, but it also changes what your body gets from it. So some cooking methods enhance nutrient absorption, making vitamins like vitamin A or K easier for your body to use. And other ways of cooking can actually give us nutrient loss, especially at delicate water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C and folate. And here's the good news. There isn't one perfect way to cook vegetables. There isn't a best method. The best method depends on what's on your plate, on what your health goals are, how much time you have, what are your resources. So today we're going to explore 5 cooking methods: boiling, baking, roasting, grilling, and microwaving. And we're going to talk about how each one affects food's nutrition, flavor, and blood sugar balance. We'll start with boiling and have the good, the bad, and I'll be cute, the broccoli. Let's start with it. So it's simple, it's familiar, it's been around forever, boiling. And I think about when I was a kid. Think about when you were a kid. What do you remember boiling on the stove? And for me, it was pasta and it was potatoes. That was something that my mom boiled on the stove. But you got to know when vegetables like broccoli, spinach, or carrots sit in boiling water, some nutrients, especially again the vitamin C's or certain vitamin B, leach out into the water. And this doesn't mean boiling is bad, because it can actually soften the fiber, making some minerals like calcium and iron more available to your body. But let's take a little bit of a deeper dive. Now, when we talk boiling, let's say we boil some broccoli. Don't throw away the water. Make a soup out of it. But if I think of broccoli water, it is not something that I'm going to combine with a light fish dish to make a broth. No, that broccoli taste is heavy, so I steam my broccoli. But if I boil my potatoes and use that potato broth to make a thickener, to use for a soup or stew, you bet. That's something I will do, is keep the liquid that I've boiled my vegetables in. Now, if we do a deeper dive, some of this information that I'm going through, if you're familiar with my ABC Lifestyle Change group, I have an opening coming up in January, but these are some of the deeper dives that I do in my classes, or you may find in the Kitchen Table Talk membership. And what I'm talking about is acylic acid. Are you familiar with that? Spinach, beet greens, Swiss chard, and some other leafy greens naturally contain oxalic acid. And this is an organic compound, but it combined with certain minerals like calcium and magnesium and iron in the digestive tract. And when it binds with those minerals, it forms something called calcium oxalate, which your body can't absorb efficiently. Now, what does that mean? That means if you are having spinach, let's say a spinach salad, with some feta cheese, and you're including the calcium from your feta cheese as something, as part of your calcium intake. Maybe you're keeping track on an app. Maybe you're trying to prevent bone loss. That calcium will bind with the oxalic acid, and you won't be able to utilize it. You won't be able to absorb it. So there are some tricks to be done with certain leafy greens. So when we boil or blanch spinach, that significantly reduces the oxalate levels because the oxalates are water soluble, and it rinses out of the spinach and you toss that liquid. So when you cook the spinach in water, goes out, you drain it, you discard it, making the remaining spinach more bioavailable for that calcium and iron. Now I'm going to tell you, it's one of the reasons why I always buy spinach frozen in the block. It is economical, and I know it's been boiled and drained. And it can lower that oxalate by between 30 and 90%, depending upon the cooking method. So, if you're aiming to absorb more calcium and iron, just watch those leafy greens, boil them, be better for you. Now, when you use less water so you don't overcook, we're talking boiling here. When it's not spinach, you save your cooking water because it's full of minerals and flavor. Pour it into soups or stews. Boil your carrots and your green beans until they're just crisp tender, and it'll brighten up the color and reserve crunch. Now, if you're watching your blood sugar, boiling can even help, because for starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, the starch structure in the potato loosens, which can lower their blood sugar. And then when you chill them and reheat at a lower heat after they've been chilled, you've made a resistant starch. And there is a podcast episode a couple weeks back on sweet potatoes and resistant starch. All right, if you've been listening to the Talking Apron podcast for a while, you have heard me talk about the membership kitchen table talk. And you may realize that I talk about small changes, small habit changes, food, stress, lifestyle. And if you're ready to turn what you're learning here into daily habits, now's the perfect time to join Kitchen Table Talk. This membership is open until Friday night, November the 7th, and you can join a community of other women 60 plus, and find how all this information, like how cooking affects your health, and turn it into real results. You'll get weekly lessons, small habit changes, and you'll get the encouragement of a group. So go ahead and find the talkingapron.com, the membership site, and you'll click the link or go to the show notes for this particular podcast, and there will be a link to find out more about Kitchen Table Talk. All right, this next segment It's about baking and roasting. And these methods use dry heat, which draws out the water and it concentrates the flavor. Now, think about the sweet smell that you have of roasted carrots or caramelized potatoes, caramelized peppers, caramelized sweet potatoes. That is, some of that sweetness is coming out because of the high roasting. And it's a bit of natural chemistry that browns the sugars in the vegetable. Now, that sweetness also means when you roast like that, it bumps up the glycemic index, or the value of how fast your blood sugar rises after you eat it. So that's just a little bit of something to know about roasting. Now, we always know that when we add some healthy fats, a little sprinkle to our vegetables, those fats will help slow down that digestion of the carbohydrates. All right, now we're getting to summertime cooking. I know we're heading into winter when this podcast is recorded, but if you think of summer, we think of outside the kitchen cooking, and we think of grilling. And grilling is that perfect mix of flavor, nostalgia, family, food, fresh air. Maybe it's beach time, maybe it's ball games. And from a nutrition standpoint, grilling helps to retain nutrients because the food doesn't sit in water. Smoky flavors. Here's the balance, though. When you char your foods on a grill, it can create some compounds that aren't so good for you. So they're not ideal in large amounts, and they are carcinogenic. You heard that. So you want to grill at moderate heat, or you sear, high temperature on the grill, then you lower it. So you get the sear marks, you retain the moisture, but you don't freaking kill the meat or vegetables on the grill when it's charred all black. No, no, no. You do not want to do that. Now, when you marinate with olive oil, citrus, vinegar, or other herbs, this helps reduce those negative compounds and it adds some flavor. So, if you've never grilled zucchini, mushrooms, peppers, asparagus, corn on the grill, give it a little try. But remember, quick heat, sear marks, lower it. We're going to now talk about the microwave. And it is the underrated hero. And I cannot believe that I'm talking about this because I have been anti-microwave for a long time in my life because of the earliest studies that said microwaving distorted or changed foods. Well, microwave have advanced tremendously. And it's actually one of the best ways to preserve nutrients because it cooks quickly and you can use just a little bit of water, helps retain vitamin C, folate, and antioxidants better than other methods. Now, what I'm talking about is fresh foods being cooked. I'm not talking about nuking an ingredient that's already been highly processed, and now we may be overheating it, and they may have already lost some of their nutrients. So we've got to pay attention to that. How do we do it? What are some tips? Well, one, glass. You want to make sure you steam in a glass container with just a splash of water. And one of the reasons we want to do that, sorry, that little noise was my insulin pump. One of the reasons we want to do that are there are some pretty nasty plastics that leach out anytime you apply heat to it. So we want to stay with glass. And when we do, so after cooking, got a little distracted with the insulin pump, we want to add a little bit of oil, sprinkle of some seeds, because we're looking to boost that absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins. Now, vitamin A is fat-soluble. Vitamin A is carrots, peppers, pumpkin, sweet potato, anything orange. So we put a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit, and that helps that vitamin A absorb into our system. Now, microwaving does not destroy fiber or protein. It just saves us time. But remember, low and slow is better than cook the bejesus out of it fast. That doesn't do any type of our food good. So if you're short on time or energy, don't feel guilty. Using your microwave is fine. It's your best tool for some healthy, quick meals. And that is, if you followed some of my previous podcasts on how to batch cook, and you don't have the time, so you take out some cooked chicken and reheat low and put in a salad. Or maybe you have some excess roasted vegetables that you froze, and you're going to be defrosting them and cooking on them low in the microwave. Certain ideas like that on how to keep eating fresh and from your own freezer without using the highly processed frozen goods that you can find. That was quick and dirty. That is it for today's kitchen chat. And I hope this helped you finding that healthy cooking doesn't have to be complicated. It's really just about understanding what happens to your food, the chemistry of heat, and choosing the method that works best for you. And remember, every small change you make, whether it's how you cook, how you plan, how you think about food, move you make a little closer to the life and health you want. And if this episode gave you some new ideas or a bit of confidence, share it with a friend. Help spread the word. And if you'd like more support, reach out. Find the link in the introduction to this podcast to learn more about the Kitchen Table Talk membership. Subscribe to the Talking Apron weekly newsletter and find support. More women like you guiding themselves right alongside you. So come join us at Kitchen Table Talk. And until next time, give yourself grace in the kitchen when you're trying something new. And know that I am always cheering you on.